you. I'm guessing theater is over here, is that true? Thank you. Byram Hills, did you say? Oh, I thought someone mentioned they went to my high school too. I was going to get... This is such an extraordinary day for me to be a part of this. Thank you for inviting me into your community to speak today. I was told last night that this graduation is unlike any, and that is absolutely true. The performances today were astounding, breathtaking. You are so lively and celebratory, and really it's an honor to be here. So congratulations, students. Congratulations, parents. Your work is just beginning. But for all that you've done and for all that you will do, this is a momentous day for you as well. I want to thank my wife, Rita, who's here today. I learned at the Tony Awards that you need to thank those kinds of people early on and not save it to the end, because if anyone looks on YouTube, I just sort of get it out and then the music plays us off. And there are a lot of people that we didn't get a chance to thank, so you put those people at the beginning. So, Rita, I love you. Thank you for all your support. My 3 children who are not here today, Michael, Julie, and Charlie, I'm thinking of them in school right now. So today, what an unbelievable day for all of you. A new chapter that you all will be writing, starting really at this very moment. And we are all artists. It's something that we share. It's a special thing to be an artist. And I think for all of us, it means something different. Certainly, it means that we look at something and we see the possibility of what it can become, whatever that means in our various fields of art. I know for me it means that I have self-doubt. I can be ill-tempered. I can be needy. I can be tired. Because I'm always thinking, my mind is always racing about what is next and what I'm currently doing and what it means to me and what it could mean to the world. And a wonderful theme that's been talked about today is the world and how much it needs artists, how much you are so needed to tell the stories that need to be told, to give voice to the characters and the people who don't have it, to shed light on the human existence, and to find or to seek out those answers, or just to ask the question. It was a remarkable season on Broadway that I had the great honor of being a Tony nominator, which meant that I went and saw every single production on Broadway this past season. And the wide breadth of what's happening, what people are creating, Hamilton, Eclipsed, Tuck Everlasting, Waitress, all of these new works, and you can feel the artistry that's happening, not just in the people who are writing it, but in the people that are exploring how theater can transform, how we can use the technology of today to speak to the audiences tomorrow, how we can challenge ourselves to find new stories, not just the stories and the things that we know, but the things that we don't know. Next to Normal, and thank you for that wonderful description of the show. If you had pitched that idea to a producer without seeing anything, you probably wouldn't get very far. But someone had the courage to put that on Broadway, and I've had young writers come up and thank me for that because it's giving them the courage to seek out those kinds of stories. So everything that you're going to be doing from here day forward is going to matter, not just to the world, but to the people that come after you. So I implore you and support you to do what you can to find those stories and to speak for the people that need to be spoken for. And it's going to be quite a remarkable thing. I can't wait to see what all of you are going to do. So I have the great pleasure in what I do to get to sit with students, college students, and talk with them. I do master classes. And I answer a lot of questions. And those questions focus on process. They focus on what this world may have in store for them beyond education. So I wanted to just offer a few words about that and highlight some things that I try to tell them. The first thing I would say to you is that the world wants you to succeed. Every actor that walks into an audition, I'm desperately hoping that that person is the answer. I'm so excited to meet you. I'm so excited to hear what you're about. There's only one job, but I want you to get the next one. or the other reading that I have coming up, which I'll call you for. So knowing that that room is a supportive room, and it can be a scary one. You can, whether it is the performing arts or any sort of meeting you're taking, everyone is excited to meet you. So the question is, knowing you can control that, what are you going to offer? What is your best self? Don't overthink it. Don't try to imagine what it is that they want you to be. Come in and be who you are. That speaks to us the most. There are people who can do all sorts of vocal dynamics and crazy leaps and bounds, but I'm as moved by someone who has stillness, who sits there and sings a song in a still way and expresses beauty and meaning just in the way they connect to the lyric and the melody. I know you all have that in you, so keep searching for what that is. And when you walk into that room, make sure that that is what you're presenting, that is your true voice and not the voice that you think that they want. The second thing I would offer is to try to only do the things that you love, the things that you believe in. You're going to have to find a way to support yourself. That is the challenge of being an artist in this day and age. Certainly living in New York City, raising 3 children, I still deal with that every day of how I can support my family with my art. So as you're starting out in that, you may need to do things that take you away from it. So when you have a chance to be doing your art, make sure that it's something that you believe in, something you love, something that speaks well, something that you feel you'll learn and grow from. Because those times where you're actually away from the money job and you're in your love are going to be fleeting at times. And if you're there, you want to make sure that you're really able to express yourself and really able to enjoy that moment. And you don't know what it will lead to. Something that you can meet someone, you can have connections, that director who you feel is on to great things. Those are the experiences that are worth having. And you'll know what they are. So trust yourself. Out of failure can come great learning and ultimately great success. It was erroneously mentioned that High Fidelity was sort of lumped into the Tony-nominated shows that I've worked on, but High Fidelity actually was a big old flop on Broadway. It ran for a total of 10 days. It was my first show. There's a restaurant in New York City called Joe Allen. Some people may know about it, but it's a place where all of the major flops are all on the wall next to one another. And if you go, it's like a hall of fame. Everyone who's on that wall, it's great company to be in, and we all have this wonderful calling card that we made something that didn't work. And it was my first show. I had an 18-month-old son at the time. The secret, or maybe not the secret, about writing a Broadway show is that you get in advance, but you don't necessarily start making money until the show is running, and only then if the show is profitable. So I spent 5 years developing that show, hoping that it would run, hoping that I would be able to relax a little bit. I gave up my money jobs, I turned down other work, and then suddenly it was done, and there was nothing coming in. And for 5 months, it was very precarious. I went back to the piano bar. I went back to teaching piano lessons. I played cocktail piano. I'll never forget the party I played at where I was playing Christmas carols and someone turned Rock Band around all around me, and I was sitting there playing, being drowned out by Aerosmith. And the caterers even were saying, I think you can probably stop. And I said, I think I have to keep going. I'm being paid for this. Kind of humiliating. And that was after I had a show on Broadway. So, but what happened was, first of all, the community reached out to me. You are going to be the greatest thing, the greatest gift for all of you are your fellow artists who are going to support you, who are going to be there for you. I can't tell you how many people reached out to me and said, keep going. I was lucky I had Next to Normal in development. And I was lucky that Sherry Renee Scott and Dick Scanlon, 2 wonderful artists on Broadway, called me about a show they were developing that I took for very little money. That became Everyday Rapture. That turned into a call from Michael Mayer about American Idiot. And suddenly I had Next to Normal, American Idiot, and Everyday Rapture at the same time, out of a period where I didn't know what was happening next. And I can honestly say that when I went into those experiences, I took everything that I learned from High Fidelity. High Fidelity is not a show that I will ever regret writing. I met great collaborators on High Fidelity, and I'm hoping that it will have a life beyond that Broadway experience. But what I learned about the things that you have to think about, the things that maybe you have to prepare for a little better, the work you need to do. I will take that with me into every new venture that I have. So it's going to be this. It's just the life of an artist, and you will learn so much from everything. So as long as it's something that you really believe in and want to be doing, don't worry about the outcome. Get everything you can out of that experience, and I guarantee you it will serve you well. The next thing I would say is every day do something for your art. Even if you don't have something scheduled that day, try to write something, try to have an experience, call someone, whatever it is that's going to further your corporation. That's what you are now. You're working for yourself. You're making this happen, and you're the only person that's going to have the tireless energy to do so. So every day, try to do something proactive for yourself and for your career, taking classes, challenging yourself, because when the moment happens, you're going to want to be prepared for it, and take the time now as you're figuring things out to really, really immerse yourself in that. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do. This is really, really important because it's going to happen. This is a subjective world, and there's going to be people who will say, you shouldn't write next to normal. That's never going to go anywhere. Or you shouldn't sing that song. It's not necessarily meant for your voice. Or you shouldn't do that monologue. Or you shouldn't sculpt that thing. Whatever it is for everybody in this room, I wonder what that thing is. I also wonder what Trey Cool was saying to me in that picture, but that's another question. But that's going to be the danger to listen to what other people are leading you towards. Believe in yourself. I've met young singers who have been tormented to a degree because of someone telling them that they shouldn't do a certain thing. And I say, well, try that, and I hear them do it, and it's glorious. You're going to be your best champion, and you can really do anything. That is what you've gotten out of this education. That is why you're an artist, because you believe that from a very early point in your life. So follow those instincts. I guarantee you, if you believe you can do it, you can do it. Please take the opportunity for great mentorships and to assist somebody who you admire, someone who you think could teach you about process. I worked alongside Jason Robert Brown and Alex Lacamoire early in my career. If you talk to all the great directors, they've worked under great directors. You can learn so much by someone, especially someone who has your interests at heart and wants to teach you in terms of what they think you might be looking for. Don't let anybody tell you what you need to experience to be a great artist. There are people who will say you need to be alone. There are people who will say you need to find love. There are people who will say you have to travel. There are people who will say you can't write that because you didn't experience that. Women write great men. Men write great women. On and on. It's up to you to immerse yourself in the source material, in the research, for something that you may not have experienced, but if you have the creative mind, you can tell stories about anything. And I really urge people to find those kinds of stories because that's where we all grow, and that's where the unexpected stories actually take place, and when we challenge ourselves to look outside of what we know. I'm going to sound like that guy, and I'm sorry for sounding like that guy, but try to put your phone down as much as you can. And I am... I am as guilty of it as anybody. I'm often on the subway and I look at the car and I just see everyone's like this, and people are walking like, it's like a bunch of zombies we've become. We bump into people. There was someone who I was just sitting there and literally took the phone and did this into me as they were texting. But the thing that I worry about most is that we don't have the patience to stare off into space anymore. We don't get bored. We don't let our minds wander, because every moment that we have, when that happens, we look at our phone. We're reliant on who's trying to reach us, who's telling us something, who's writing something, as opposed to letting our minds do all of that for us. It's a really, really important thing as artists to make sure that you protect your space. It's nice to connect with people, but it's also nice to be alone. It's nice to just be by yourself with your instrument, with your art, and not be reliant on what other people are going to feed you with. And the thing is, as great as the internet is, and as a composer, what I can do in terms of sending demos to my collaborators and getting information, I can't imagine life before that. but there's going to be a lot written. There's going to be a lot of things that you could discover. There are going to be performances that you didn't really mean as a final performance that someone is going to capture and put somewhere. And the question is, can we maintain that? No. But what we can control is how we let it affect us, what it says about us. Don't let it get inside of you and make you challenge anything that you believe in. I know that I stopped reading chatter years ago. I got off Facebook probably about 5 or 6 years ago, actually in tech during American Idiot. And I understand that those things are very important, but for me, I like to protect my space. And if I have an opportunity to not be staring at a screen, I'd love to be at the piano, I'd love to be writing, and it's a great gift that we all have. So it's here to stay, it's very important, but when you can, just try to find that protective space for yourselves. The other thing I would say, and I'm stealing this from Hal Prince, is try to begin your next project the day after your current project ends. It's a wonderful thing to say to yourself that no matter how this thing goes, I'm in it for the long haul, and I'm going to my next thing. So if it's a great success, wonderful, I'm gonna have great energy that next day, and if it's not a success, I'm gonna pick myself up, and I'm gonna go on. And the day after High Fidelity got the reviews that it got, all of my Next to Normal collaborators called me and said, "We understand how you're feeling, but don't feel that way too long because you have work to do." That was a great thing to hear, and it's important, I think, for all of you to keep that in mind as you go from project to project. And the last thing that I want to say is, with all of that, and I hope that some of that meant anything to all of you artists who, again, I feel so humbled to be here speaking to. At the end of the day, there is no plan, there is no silver bullet, there is no way to do this from here on out. I was so interested in running a musical like If Then because I was so interested in how we look back and connect from A to B, how we get from one place to the next, and how there is no control in that we just don't know the things that are going to matter to us in the moments that they happen. But all we can do is study and practice and be ready for those moments when they come. If you looked at the trajectory of Next to Normal, it began as a 10-minute musical at the BMI Musical Theater Workshop. A lot of people told us we shouldn't write it, so we kept writing it, but we just wrote songs, we didn't outline it. We did a reading in 2002. It was a mess, but people both encouraged and dissuaded us from writing it. Then it was done for 3 years until the Larson Foundation and Village Theater granted us the funds to do a workshop. Then it was at NYMF. Then it was off-Broadway. And then it was in DC with no plans for Broadway, just to take one more stab at it. And then it was on Broadway at the height of the financial crisis, our little show. And it ran for almost 2 years. And now it plays around the world. And I could have never predicted that. I never could have thought that my life would end up there with that show, and I'd be here speaking to all of you. And I'll never forget, when we were in previews on Broadway, I think a week before we opened, there was a teenage boy who came up to Brian and I and said, "Excuse me, are you the writers?" And we said, "Yes, we're the writers." And he said, "I just want to thank you because I was diagnosed bipolar 3 months ago, and I feel like I finally have something that I can show my friends and tell them what I'm experiencing." And Brian and I looked at each other and we said, "That's everything. We're here. We're doing what we always wanted to do. Never mind the success. Never mind what it means from here on out," because we hadn't even opened yet. We truly felt like artists in that moment. And so I wish for all of you many moments like that. I wish you all good luck, congratulations, and thank you again for having me today.